Hi, everybody. This is Chris.
And this is Matt.
This week, we're going to talk about a world where terrorism is struck on U.S. soil, taking down the World Trade Center. Riots are destabilizing society. A worldwide pandemic is ravaging people en masse, and the government is seemingly to do little to curb it, while for-profit medicine is keeping poor people from getting treatment. The police are on full crackdowns to stop riots from getting worse. And a small group of people behind the scenes is using their politics to kind of get some power for themselves in this last grasp of a falling America. I'm talking about Deus Ex, not what's happening outside. I understand if you're confused, but
this is an apt one. This is very apt.
And this is several things that has sort of new for us. One, and the thing I think shook us last night when we realized this, our games are 20 years old. We feel like 20 years is where we get to be in nostalgia. This game's in the 2000s.
Right.
That's not a good feeling for us.
Right, because we were like adults when this came out, like full on adults.
I know I give you a little bit of grief about 2001 being a movie you're really into, but that was still growing up. That was the future. So not only is it no longer the future, it's the past. And kind of what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's shaking. And another thing it's not, though, is a review.
It is not a review. That, oh my god. Golf clap segue. I so appreciate that. Yeah, we're not a review. We're two assholes with opinions. We're going to talk about them in here. We are also going to talk about... This game has a lot of twists and turns, and we're probably going to spoil.
Really excited to have you, Jason.
Just heads up. Some spoilers. So if that's a problem for you, if you want to go play this game, do you think they should play this game, Matt?
I absolutely think that everyone should play Deus Ex for a while and try it. And I think this is one of the times where if this gets spoiled for you, it will detract from your experience. So like ordinarily it's like, it doesn't really matter that much if something gets spoiled, but here I think it really does, because that's like intrinsic to what makes this game good. Is the branching storylines, and it's something we're used to now in games, but it was different in this one, and it was done mostly really well.
We have one more disclaimer. If the initial joke didn't drive it home, politics are going to come up. If you don't want your show to have politics in it, touch on it. I don't see how we get through this review with it. So I'm just going to give everybody their little heads up right now. Going to get mentioned. We'll try to keep it to a minimum because we do want to keep sort of everybody happy here, fluffy, thinking about what used to be, and not about the fact that we're all locked inside from COVID.
Yeah. But, I mean, how could it not come up? It's just so like on the nose.
So on the nose. It's scary, and that it's 20 years old and on the nose.
Lead the way.
Do you want to take a moment to talk about history while I turn off the air conditioner? I forgot to turn.
Sure. Yeah. This is an Ion Storm game. It was made in 2000. Ion Storm's kind of a cool story on its own. Because it's John Romero's company, and it was kind of ill-fated. Like, I think of the Ion Storm games, it was Dominion, Daikatana, Deus Ex, Anachronox, another Deus Ex game, and then Thief: Deadly Shadows. So there's not a lot of like really classic, incredible games like you would expect there to be in that list.
No, I think it's one of those when you come out of the id team of John Romero and John Carmack. Together, alone they're good. They're fine. Together they're magic. And they had split and that magic's just, it's, just eating salt alone tastes horrible, but if you put it in a recipe, it makes it better. And together they just that, and it's not that.
Yeah, it was just like, I think it was a lot of missteps. Like, they released Dominion the same day that Warcraft came out, and
God.
like you can't do that. Like, you're not going to be successful doing that. And
No.
then, like, I think Daikatana's kind of regarded as a grand gaming failure, possibly up there with Duke Nukem Forever.
I have a Daikatana story if you want to take a second. I got Daikatana the day it came out, in spite of John Romero's going to make me his bitch advertising. I bought it the day it came out, and I took it home and I went to install, and it took me 4 hours to get it to work.
Wow.
And I didn't have a shitty old computer. I wasn't trying to ram it. It wasn't like I was futzing with the graphics to get them to look right. No, I couldn't hit play for 4 hours while I tried to get that game to work. It was so buggy and glitched on release. I guess it's better now, but too little too late. You know what I mean? You needed to be good the day somebody brought it home, not... And I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone with just fighting with everything to get it to work. And obviously this is the 2000s. This is Windows era. This isn't I'm dealing with my auto exec or my config files trying to get it to work.
Right.
So I have a special hate to love or love to hate Daikatana.
Yeah. I guess John Romero did make you his bitch, though, because you wasted 4 hours of your life.
Totally did. Not because he did it in a way no one sees coming. You can't defend that.
I thought it was chess,
right, man. Different levels. So that was sort of unfortunate. I guess Anachronox is supposedly good. I haven't played it.
I don't know anything about it. Next year we can play it because it's 2001 that came out.
Mm-hmm.
But this kid, can we just stop for a second and appreciate how fucking terrifying this child looks in this game? This kid unnerved me on like some deep fundamental level, more so than any of the other characters. He's just so weird looking.
All the kids are weird looking. They took the adult, 3D model and just shrunk it, and so it looks off step.
Yeah, I should have shot this odd job looking little motherfucker.
And with very few exceptions, you can just...
Yeah, right. That's a great thing about this game, is that it's pretty open, and like you can get away with a lot of stuff that you might not think you can get away with, which I really appreciate.
You can get away with a lot of stuff you might not think you can get away with, and it reacts. The game will change and have reactions based on how you behave. I go through the beginning parts of my playthroughs of these being fairly non-violent, non-lethal, and it pisses off my, gung-ho military coworkers. Mm-hmm. But if you go through the other way, they're like, yeah! Kill them all!
My big mistake in Deus Ex was going in the women's bathroom in the first, intermediate scene in the game, because that decision follows you around for a lot of the game. Like, you see the lady that was in the bathroom periodically, and she's always freaked out by you from thereafter. I love that. It's just
that was
a little
so brilliant. Yeah.
Thing, yeah, and it shows you, hey, what you're doing here. There's no real ramifications for it except this lady's creeped out by you forever. I don't think.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it changes the ending. You just never know unless you play through this thing 100 times or read every walkthrough.
I would have to remember, because I did it my first playthrough too, because it's video game logic. You go in everywhere, you do everything.
Yeah, there's going to be ammo in the far stall in the corner.
Yeah, men's and women's room, they're going to have different ammo. Probably something sexist, like women will have the non-violent one, but it'll still be there.
Right, totally.
I want to talk about, going back to the history. A lot of this game came about because Warren Spector didn't like that he couldn't just fight his way through in Thief. when he was playing Thief over at Eidos. And I get he felt that if we allowed people to fight, most people would still sneak, would still take that route. Was that your situation? Did you spend a lot of time sneaking or worrying about sneaking, or did you just fight your way through?
I spent the majority of my time selectively deciding which combats I was going to engage in. But by and large, I think I killed as many people as I could, just because I am not a patient person, and I don't like being surprised. So I just like waited for the right moment and then killed people, and then sometimes I threw their bodies off buildings just because you can.
I was gonna say that wasn't so much for the stealth, but just for the fun. You kind of want to do that because if things go shithouse, if the alarm goes off, they all come running at you. The
Right.
AI is not great, so they all just make a beeline for you, even if they don't know where you are. We'll talk about the other part of the AI where like you shoot them a couple times and then they just run in circles because they're freaked out. They don't run away, just in circles.
I'm just gonna say the AI in this game is so fucking terrible. It is
bad.
one of the worst AI, which is ironic because it's a cyberpunk game and you would expect them to want to highlight their AI, but it is abysmally bad. Like they can't shoot, they can't make good decisions. It's just like someone set their ass on fire and turned them loose every time you engage in combat.
Every time. Yeah,
It is so horrible, and it's one of the reasons that I'm going to say that this game is a failure as a first-person shooter.
it never meant to be one.
Exactly, but you can't, even though you can kind of play it like one, you really can't, because they've nerfed you so bad by not giving you ammo, by making the reload take 1,000 years, by making the aiming take 1,000 years, that you cannot play through this in an action-y kind of way. So even when you make those choices to engage in combat with people, it's still in the terms of the game. Like, you're not going to run and gun your way through this.
Right.
Even the scenes where you are running and gunning because you have to, you're still not. You're still hiding most of the time. You're still selectively engaging in combat. Like, it's just not ever going to be an action game. So if that's what you want, don't play it.
Well, and one of the things I've always liked, oddly, one of the things I've always liked about it is sort of the combat and how they handle a skill-based first-person shooter aiming. Where when you're a know-nothing and you've just picked up this gun for the first time and you like look through the scope, it's all over the place, like you've just had 87 coffees. And as you get better, that thing just is rock solid right in the middle by the end of the game. Like when I pick up the sniper rifle at the end, boop, that dot's right where I want it, and I just take the shot.
I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
I was playing this last night, and I was fighting my way out of a situation, and I had a modded sniper rifle that I put accuracy mods on, which is, by the way, a really cool mechanic because you can
So many
not
mechanics
only
we got
mod
to talk about.
yourself,
Yeah,
you can mod the weapons, which is my Hangouts is crashing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're still here to me.
Okay. Well, anyway, my Hangouts did something weird.
Okay.
What was I saying? Oh, so I was fighting my way out, and I had a modded sniper rifle, and I picked up another sniper rifle, and suddenly I noticed the aiming was way worse than it should have been. And I think it may have swapped my sniper rifle, which I found very distressing.
I actually, towards the end of the game, checked that out with a. I had a laser sight on my.
Something your
My assault one.
yeah.
I don't want to call it a rifle because it's not. It's somewhere between a submachine gun and an assault rifle. It's not really either. But I had a laser sight on it, picked up another one, and immediately checked and still had the laser sight.
Okay, so maybe I just sucked worse than I thought I did, but it was like noticeably different. So I don't know. I don't know how that mechanic works.
Were you trying to do it while moving? Like that is your movement changes that too, which I think is also pretty cool. Like if you hold still in a spot, if you hold still in the spot, obviously your aiming goes way up, but so does your ability to get hit. So
Right,
you gotta
totally.
balance that out. And the UI for where you're going to hit the circle, I think, is really well done. It's this crosshair that's wide and it narrows in. I never needed it explained to me. Now or then, I understood that this is the bounding box of where my bullets might go, and it's going to get better.
My opinion is that it is a little prohibitive in the beginning, and it pushed me to do more sniping than I probably would have, because you're kind of more in control of it with the sniper rifle.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the beginning, it takes so long to shoot someone like at a distance that I thought it was a little disincentivizing to engage in any kind of close-up combat or react to situations.
So in the beginning, what I did for almost all my close-up combat is either tranq darts, which we'll talk about in a second because they are not what you think they are, or the stun baton. And the stun baton works well if you can get very close and you can stun them in the torso or head.
Is that the prod?
Yeah, the prod thing.
Yeah.
You also don't get a lot of charges on that, which kind of ticks me off. I feel like that should come out of your bioenergy, and like you should just get new batteries to do that. That would have been an improvement I would have made, because then you could be far more stealthy for far longer and feel a bit more, if you don't want to play that action hero role, if you want to play somebody more sneaky and stealthy, it would have given you that access. This,
Totally.
I don't know. Because you want to take out as many of these guys as you can, and you maybe want to do it without, in a non-lethal way. I was happy to find out that even though there's blood all over the ground when you beat them with the police baton, they are just unconscious. So that is a way you can do it too. But you've got to be really good with that. The stun thing, even if you screw it up a little, they'll stand there and shake, and you can hit them again and waste a charge. The police baton, have your shit together.
Yep. Same with the knife, the police baton, all the melee weapons. You really have to just like go and swing and and so.
But let's talk about the tranq dart before we get off that, because that's the last non-lethal thing. You would think, since that's meant to be a stealth weapon, that like you would hit them and they'd go and fall over. No, they spend another good 3 minutes running around screaming,
hitting alarms
and doing whatever they can while they're falling asleep. And it's like, why, other than just the moral justification of I wasn't a killer, did I waste my time with this? He's still shooting at me.
Right. It's totally useless, I would say, as a weapon.
I ended up using it a lot at the end, because even though I'd get shot at, like I'd pop out, I'd take the shot, and if I hit him with the tranq dart, the thing you can know for sure is they're done. Like you can then go somewhere else and start doing something else, even though they're acting just crazy wherever they just got shot. You're done with them. Like they're going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Where if I shoot them with a pistol, I'm going to have to just keep unloading into them until they go down. So I wouldn't say totally worthless, but it's an edge case. You got to decide when you're going to use it. And arguably, that's one of the things that makes this game awesome.
Yeah, is having that feeling of having the right tool for the right situation, and each combat feels like a situation. And it's not like Doom where you're just gonna mow through like every one of these combats. You're gonna make choices. You're gonna do well or poorly, which is why I have about 8,000 Deus Ex save games.
Me too.
You save a lot. Like I saved between every combat, everything that went right. I would save after.
It took me a while to remember that. I lost at the beginning. I lost a lot of time where I was like, oh, I forgot.
Yep. It's part of the game. You got to just do it.
And here's a case of, like, I talked to the kid, I gave him a candy bar, and he gave me the code to get into here.
Yeah.
You can go through, you can do the same thing, but you go through a secret thing in the, like, bum quarters where the homeless people are sheltered up. There's a tunnel you can get in through there. Or there's another place in another building you can go through the front door and just come in guns a-blazing and try and shoot everybody up. All of them work. And none of them work better. It's which one works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a little strange because when you save so much, you really get a sense for what some of the possibilities are. And so when you go back, you kind of can see that at least the short-term ramifications of your actions kind of branching out, which is kind of an interesting experience to have. Like, part of me wishes I could play this game through, like I forget. There's like a term for it where you play through and you don't save, and like whatever happens.
Oh,
happens.
like an Iron Man mode?
Yeah, like Iron Man mode. That would be really interesting. And I think it would arguably be a better experience if you could play through that way. But you can't because you get killed.
I was going to say, if the AI was better, you could, because you could react normally to the AI. Like, I'm sitting here unloading my assault weapon into these guys, and they're running right at me. Nobody would do that. They would take cover. They would, like, try to flank. There would be some logic to it, instead of just 12 guys pour down the stairs en masse, shooting possibly into each other, which happens more than I want to talk about.
Yeah, totally. The other thing that I thought makes this a failure as an action game, and I was thinking about this while you're talking about the cattle prod, the feedback you get in combat is abysmally bad. I found that infuriating. Like, you think you're shooting someone, you're not. You think you're cattle prodding someone, you're not. You think you're doing great in combat, but you're actually getting hit a lot. You know, it's really anemic feedback from the combat system, and that to me made it very frustrating to engage in combat because I didn't have a sense for how it was going until it was over.
I am really of two minds on combat. I agree with you that, like, I have no sense of how bad I'm getting shot up until all of a sudden my character drops because his legs have been shot out. I'm like, that's a problem. Like, there's just not enough. Like, I better do some healing. But there's just not enough feedback for how much damage you're taking. Totally. I think you can learn how much damage you're giving. Like, you'll start to get a sense of it. But for the most part, you're not going to get in a gun fight. You're going to sneak up behind someone and shoot them.
Right. There's a few times where you end up in gunfights, especially depending on some decisions that you make later in the game.
Yeah.
And those feel like cool moments, kind of, when it happens, because you're so used to this crawling through vents in the dark shit that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if in those moments you felt a little more connected to the action. But you never feel really connected to the action in this game.
In the next breath, I love how the skills work with the guns. I've never felt a better gun skill aiming thing. I don't know how else to describe it. I love leveling up my rifle because it feels natural, and how it improves in power and accuracy feel right. It just feels right. But you're also right that there's not enough feedback to you on some of these other things. So it's this best and worst. You talk about it, failing as an action game, and I said it never meant to be one. The amount of time you spend walking around headquarters talking to people, or walking around a city gathering information, this is an RPG.
Definitely. And it's a successful RPG.
Yes.
It absolutely is. And it's a successful stealth game as well. It's a wonderful game. And experiencing it for the first time is it's one of those things like you'll wish you could experience this game for the first time again.
Oh God, yes.
Because it's great, and the world's great, and everything about it is really.
The world is amazing. The storytelling they did in this, they sort of sat down and came up with all these conspiracy theories and melded them together. And if you were an X-Files fan, or you were one of these conspiracy theory fans from the 90s, you're going to hear things like Echelon that you'd heard about, and you're going to run into Area 51 and Majestic 12, and just sort of this whole buzzword soup of just great government and paranormal conspiracies. You know what they did in all this that I think is interesting is they took all these conspiracy things. There's no mind reading. There's no telekinesis. There's no pseudoscience, GB stuff. They stuck with really grounded, reasonable, based in science conspiracies that are like, yeah, that's plausible. It's plausible there's an echelon. It's plausible that there is a, government computer system that's just tapped into all our phone calls and listening for keywords. Like, that's... No one sits here and goes, oh, that could never happen. It's like, it could. And then like 6 months after they started development on this, it's been confirmed. Like, a bunch of stuff in this game is either confirmed or still very plausible.
Yeah, it's really great, and the whole thing it's the most cyberpunk thing I can think of. It's so like that early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah,
long black trench coat, sunglasses at night, augmented bartender. It checks every one of the cyberpunk boxes.
Yeah.
You go to Tokyo to meet a guy named like Tracer, or what was his name?
Tracer Tong, yes.
Tracer Tong, yeah. Like, that is the most cyberpunk thing that's ever...
Some of the accents were a bit racist as you go around this. Just FYI. God. Oh, my God.
I can imagine. But yeah, when we started playing this, like, the first thing I thought was... Okay, I'm working for a government organization in this cyberpunk game. I definitely know where this plotline is going. Like, there's no question that you're going to end up finding out that the UNATCO, which is the government anti-terrorist organization.
Yeah, United Nations anti-terrorist.
Yeah, like, they're not going to be the good guys. Like, I wouldn't even call that a spoiler, just because. Well, and it's cyberpunk, like,
You're almost to the point where I think it got interesting, because like you said, I know they're going to be the bad guys. So there comes a point where after your character knows they're the bad guys, you get to go back into the base. And you fight your way out, but you also talk to all the people who were your friends in there. Some of them leave with you. Some of them are like, I choose to stay. And you're like, why? You know this place is corrupt. And they're like, it's only going to be more corrupt if the good people all leave. Maybe I can still nudge it or keep it from falling as fast or do something. And it was this nice shade of gray that this game constantly is doing of a system might not work, but the people in it are probably still trying to. There did come a point where I kind of like Clerks, Death Star, the UNATCO people, because I'm like, okay, at this point you've been involved in enough shitty things and you're still here. I no longer care about you. Like, you're at the bottom of a base where we're doing genetic mutation, things on homeless people you've dragged in. You can see the homeless guy in the cage. He's begging to get out. I no longer feel the need for a non-lethal takedown.
Yeah, totally.
Like the New York police who are just walking around being told they need to pick up this guy who in a trench coat with guns. Man, they're doing their job.
Right. They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know about UNATCO's secret virus bullshit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also like that they keep adding players. Like, you start out at a very street level. You're here to deal with, these level street thugs with this level thing, and you just it's such a good story building of adding a new level of, okay, now these are really our problem. And then you kind of get in and you dig into them and they're like, okay, but they're being pulled by these guys. Okay, well, we finally got to the top and these guys are pulling these guys, but these guys are starting to revolt against the top. So do you help them or are they still just as bad? And you get this nice blending of gray in all the story that's just... There's really dark gray and there's really light gray, but I wouldn't say there's any 100% black or white.
Right. There's no moral high road that you can end up really taking. Like you're still ultimately, dealing with all these different forces and like they're so ingrained in the society in the game that you can't just
let's talk about the end.
Yeah.
Let's jump.
Yeah, let's do it.
Spoiler alert, here we go. So, and I want to bring this up because one of the things, not Invisible War, we're not going to talk about that, but the other sequel, Human Revolution, got shit for is you get to the end and you basically, there are 3 buttons and they might as well say good ending, bad ending, trying to split the difference. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And they're all in the same room and they're all in a line. I'm getting to the end of this game, or I had gotten to the end of this game. And there are still 3 endings. And I think this is why Human Revolution tried to be this game with polish. And it succeeded in some places and failed in some places. Mm-hmm. It's not as good as this, ultimately, is the takeaway. This game gives you the 3 endings, too. You can restore Majestic 12 to power. Join that organization and try to lead compassionately and basically take us back to 20th century capitalism and lead for where people are mostly free to make their own choices, but there is a pretty strong nudge from the people behind the scenes pushing it. That's one of your options. One of your other options is to merge with this AI and become a new overlord AI that believes it should have the right to choose because it has no emotion. It's not going to get all wound up in it's just going to lead you to an age of enlightenment, peace, and prosperity. And you honestly believe it could do it.
Yeah.
There's some stuff as you're coming in towards the end where it's already starting to do things and you're like, it makes a relatively strong case. And all of this is happening in the place with Echelon that sort of controls global communications. If you take that place out, you essentially break down the global communication grid. There's no more transatlantic phone calls because the satellite system's off. There's no more large reaching thing. And the guy's argument is government has gotten so big, it's impossible for an individual to understand who's managing it. You can't, as an individual, really understand the size and the scope of everything that's happening. It's just too big. And we need to go back and maybe try again. So if we just take out the global communications, we will push society into a dark age. But it'll be our dark age. Which one do you choose?
None of those are great.
None of those are great. You're going to have to choose one, and you can totally see why, one of these people's going to win. This isn't a case of, I could do a 4th option, or I could... No, one of these people's going to win. And you get the choice to pick the winner. Pick a winner.
Nothing we can't handle with a few EMP grenades.
And also, merging with an AI, also the most cyberpunk thing.
Oh my god, so cyberpunk. When the AIs get involved, it just goes to the sort of next level of cyberpunk. And I really can't emphasize that enough, how this game just ramps up slowly. It starts with very small, believable things and drip feeds the new lore, the new level, the new everything in such a way that you never feel like, holy crap, how big is how have we spiraled this far out of control? You've been along the whole ride.
Right. And to nest in these kind of great one-off combat missions in that big story the way they did is really terrific. Like they did a great job with it and gave you a lot of really exciting moments and choices you can make. So yeah, overall a totally, a very successful game.
Yeah.
But man, is it dark.
Man, is it dark.
This whole game is so fucking dark, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of drove me crazy a little bit. And also, one of the interesting things you can do in this game is that you have augmentations. And you start with 3. One is your crosshair that turns red when you're pointed at an enemy.
Yeah.
I forgot what the second one was. And the third one is a flashlight that's built into your face somehow. And that, to me, was a terrible, terrible decision because they were like, well, we built this nanobot augmented dude. What should we do with him? And they were like, I know. Let's put a flashlight in his head. And that's it.
He's got a flashlight for a head.
Yeah, okay, but you're going to send me into dark world after dark world with a flashlight that's tied to my ability to scrounge around and find these special bioelectric batteries. Just give me a fucking flashlight and $20 and I'll be good. I'll be set for the duration of this game. I'll stop at the store and buy batteries. It'll be fine. Don't tie it into my bioelectric gobbledygook. I don't need that because you need the flashlight all the time. All the time. And if you play this on Steam, you'll know exactly how many times you need the flashlight because it's also the key that you use to take a screenshot.
Oh my
so
God,
I have about
right?
800 screenshots of, because I know you can remap it, but I'm not going to do that.
No, I know.
I'm going to end up with 800 screenshots of dark rooms in Deus Ex because every time I turn on my bioelectric flashlight, it takes one.
Now, to be fair, they came out before Steam. They weren't thinking about Steam's screenshots.
Sure.
But I get your point.
Still, just give me a mag light. I'm good.
Well, my thought is, too, you've got it coming out of your head. And if in the dark, the people see a bright light, they're going to shoot at the light. It's one of the reasons, people who are trained to go around through these things are told to hold the flashlight over here and put the gun over here because they'll shoot at where the light's coming from rather than at you. And, yeah, it's
a bad decision. And from a game design standpoint, I got to be honest, not great, because I don't think there are any bright levels. Even the indoor levels that's like your brother's fucking apartment. Turn a light on, you idiot. Why?
You eventually get to some labs and stuff that are bright. You do eventually get there. But yeah, no, the first half, you're just going to have that thing on nearly all the time.
It's so dark. It's so dark, and then they stick items that you desperately need. You desperately need every item in this game. They put them in corners in the dark behind boxes.
Well, part of the reason we need every item in this game is we try to kill everybody. If you snuck by most of these people and saved your ammo, you don't. But if you don't go around everywhere, you run into the problem you were telling me about last night, which is you don't have any augs yet. You don't have any augmentation. By the time I was here, I had a few.
Yeah, I missed the boat on two things. The augmentation and leveling up my skills. Mm-hmm. I didn't level up my skills until 2 days ago. So I played through half of this game with no skill upgrades at all.
Oh my God, that's got to be miserable.
I didn't click on that tab. You just got to click on that tab and do it. Mm-hmm. I got 50 points. Great.
What does that do me? Yeah. All of a sudden, oh my God, I've got all these points.
Yeah, I can shoot now. And I was infuriated. There's this part where you can swim under and you get a biohazard mask thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I played video games. I know what to do. I'll put on the biohazard mask. I'll swim under. It'll be all good. Well, no, because I didn't upgrade my swimming, and it doesn't have enough
Just dog paddling your ass through it.
Yeah. So like I drown, and I was incensed at that. Like how could they do that to me? Like I found the suit, like I put it on, like I know how to do it.
It's combinations of things. You got to really mix and match all your stuff together. One of the things I do with leveling up is I usually save my stuff back pretty far until right when I need it. Usually when I get to like a lock or something and be like, you need 4 picks. I'm like, fuck that. Up my lock picking skill. You need 2 picks. There you go.
Yep, now we're talking.
Now I'll pick this lock.
You gotta update that lock picking because you need that thing.
Mm-hmm. Lock picking, electronics, and hacking. If you don't, you're not only going to not be able to get in and get stuff, you're going to miss tons of lore.
Right. There's so much in this game, and if you really to enjoy it, you really have to go poking around. You can't treat it like mission after mission after mission. Mm-mm. Like that was a mistake I made early on, and kind of the moment I realized it, there's like, I think it's the first mission when you go to Hell's Kitchen. You have to infiltrate this warehouse, and I like found the warehouse, and I'm doing it. Like I'm in there, and then I ran out of items as you do in Deus Ex.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, well, there's this big street. I'm going to go fart around, and then you find like a bar, and there's tons of people in the bar, and you can learn a bunch of stuff. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And there's items in there, which is, really why I went in there in the first place. But, definitely explore around.
Explore around, hack, read people's emails, sneak into places you're not supposed to go. If something's locked, maybe save the game, pick the lock, go in, see if there's anything you need, reload immediately outside the door. Not saying I did that 8 times a night, but you might.
Right. If you're less principled, you might do that.
You might do that.
Yeah, because a lot of them, there's just shit. Like, you end up so mad that you wasted those precious lock picks.
Mm-hmm. Although there were a few times by the end where I'm like, you have 12 lock picks. You have 13, what's essentially an electronic lock pick. It picks the fuse boxes and certain cameras and stuff like that. You can use it to multi-tool your way past it. Which at the time I felt was really dumb and cliche and like, that's not how real hacking would work. But in the era of Raspberry Pis and Arduinos, it probably is. Like, it probably is. You walk up, you put it next to something, and you just push out a little beam at it, and it'll probably like short circuit or Wi-Fi pick up, because they probably haven't changed the default Wi-Fi password, so you just put it on there.
What did you think of, like, when you take damage, you take it based on where in your body you're hit? That seemed like a wasted mechanic to me, because if your legs get shot out or you fall too much, you're basically done. Like, you're crawling around. And, of course, health kits are really hard to find. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather just get killed, personally. What did you think of it?
I liked, because again, this is an RPG, not an action thing. If this was meant to be a win or lose, you've killed them or they kill you, you're right. I'd rather just get killed. But when it's trying to tell a story, being like, oh man, I got my leg shot out by robots, and I had to claw my way back, and like still had one gimpy leg as I'm shuffling my way through the whole thing. Like that to me makes sense. That I can see that from a role-playing standpoint. But I can also see just being like, I don't want to deal with that. Just kill me. Like,
right.
And it's one of those things where I wish games had, instead of like Iron Man or, Kindergartner as your 2 difficulty levels.
Right.
It is, I want fast XP, or I want fast money, or I want all or nothing damage, or, you know what I mean? Like different sliders.
Yeah.
We can really scale in what you want to be difficult, not just it's difficult. Oh, one of the things I want to talk about. So, one of the things I think is interesting is the augmentation system in this game. When you pick an augmentation for part of your body, you have to pick one of two things for the augmentation. So, like, either you run super fast or you run super quiet. But you can't pick choosing to be super fast or super quiet with your augmentations. You've got to pick one of the two. And I think that's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, just picking up on what you said.
Yeah.
The tail here. I think the choices in this game are really well done because you can totally tailor it to your play style. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, and the augmentations are, like, it forces you to sit here and choose between two really good choices. Like, do I want to be temporary invisible to people, but cameras can still see me? Or temporary invisible to cameras, but people can still see me? Which one makes more sense? Do I want to run really fast, or do I want to run really quiet? Am I, do I want to take less resistance from environmental hazards like toxins and radiation, or do I want to maybe resist bullets and knives a little better? And each of these things is a choice that you get to take. There's only one thing I ever upgraded that I wish I hadn't, and that was the targeting system you can pick for your eyes.
Yeah.
When you get to level 3 with it, you can see like their head's at 90%, their torso's at 80%, whatever you're hovering over, you get a readout on them as to what their damage levels are. And I think that's really cool. The next level gives you like a zoomed in view of your crosshair on them. But it actually was less useful to me than the numbers. Yeah. And they took the numbers away to put the picture up.
Right.
And I'm like, and you can't other than like reloading, and at that point I hadn't realized what had happened. You can't unaugment your augments, so
right. You can't unmodify your weapons either. That was kind of a bummer. Which again, like, goes back to the point that the way you play this game is to save constantly, and then go back. Like, if you're not happy with how it went or a decision you made, you just have to go reload that game.
Yeah.
Which I think overall is a necessary evil, but it is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. And there's one thing I wanted to talk about how you play the game and stuff. I want to talk about two scenarios. The one you were talking to me about last night that made you really angry.
Yes. And
then I'm not sure if I want to talk about my version of it, which would make somebody really happy. Which should we do first?
I can tell my story about when I got very mad at Deus Ex. So there's a part later in the game where you're supposed to go to Tokyo, but you stop off in Hell's Kitchen to see your brother Paul, and you find him in his very dark apartment, just kind of sitting there in the dark. And he tells you to go realign these satellites or whatever, and you do it. I guess you do it, you do it, and then you go back and like they come for Paul, like the UNATCO comes for Paul, and you have the choice of jumping out the window and going to the subway, or fighting your way out of the hotel, the dark hotel where Paul lives. And the first time I did it, I jumped out the window, but then I was like, I wonder if you can fight your way out of here. And yes, you can. And that to me was like, that was probably like we do the high point and the low point, the peak and the pit. That to me was like the peak.
The pinnacle, yes, go on.
The Kardashian peak of the game.
The ghost pinnacle, yes, go on.
So like they pour in, I'm like throwing gas grenades, everyone's coughing. I shot the robotic, agent, and he exploded, and I kept getting killed. And when you get killed in that section, you end up captured in a cell, and then some shit happens. I was like, no, I want to do this. Like, I think I can get out of here. So I reloaded, fought my way out. It took me a long time. so much of my ammo, every one of my gas grenades, like all the shit I had, and I get out, and it's awesome. And then I'm like sneaking around Hell's Kitchen, sniping people with my last like 2 bullets, and getting killed and ending up in that cell anyway. And I was like, oh, well, like I gotta reload. I can
do this.
Burgess Meredith is like in my ear. You can do it. So, Rocky reference.
Yes, sweet.
So I finally get to the subway, and I'm almost dead, and I get off the subway, and that like cybernetic invisible girl's there, and she kills me, and I end up in the cell.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. So I went back, reloaded, way back, got out like really healthy with more ammo, and I was like, I'm doing this. Like, this is great. I love Deus Ex. And then I killed her, and finally, and I go out, and at that point, the other robotic dude, the like Herman the German, who's great, by the way.
Yeah, he is. Especially when he doesn't get the right soda.
Yeah, that was a great scene in the beginning. That was like one of my favorite moments. Hearing Herman the German complain about getting the wrong soda. But anyway, so he's there, and he shoots me, and I end up in the cell. No matter what you do at that point, you end up in that cell. And I believe if you go out the window, your brother dies, and if you go out the door, he doesn't. So it makes a difference.
You can believe that, but no, that's not true.
Oh.
He dies. He's dead. Like, just, he's done.
Well, he dies eventually, but I think he's with you for longer. Really?
No.
Oh. Well, anyway.
So we have a new pit, which is this fucking conversation.
Yeah. But ending up in that cell, even after successfully dealing with all that bullshit, because I thought, like, I made a choice, I committed to it hardcore. I spent a ton of time, in trying to like have this outcome where I don't end up in jail, and you just end up there. So the best thing you can do, really, is get captured right away when you're healthiest. And that's a total bummer. That was the pit. Was like, and then I reloaded to try to find a way to get around Herman the German a bunch of times, and you just can't. It's impossible. It's impossible.
No, yeah. And if you can, someone tell us in the comments, because we're going back and we're doing this shit. I think it's impossible. And I really wanted you to get to this point because this is, I would have to say, this is my pit for the game as well. This is a game that's so open-ended, and I'm about to tell my sort of peak story to this game. Because it's everything else in this game rewards you for beating it. Like, if you there's the scene on the plane where you first find out your brother has switched sides, and he says, go in and talk to the guy, hear what he has to say before you execute the order to kill him. And he walks in, he's like, I'm surrender, I'm an unarmed prisoner, you can't kill me according to UNATCO rules. And you're like, yeah, that's fair, so tell me what you got. And then Agent Navarro shows up, the cyborg invisible woman lady, and she's like, you kill him or I will. Those are the orders. And in my mind, I'm like, no, the law is the law. I can't let you do that. So I killed her. And immediately in my ear, there's, somebody screaming. Or your guy on the inside is like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I mean, yeah, she was over the line, but holy crap. Okay, I'm going to scrub the records. We're going to figure this out. And it rewarded you for going that far outside the bounds. And then you've got this one point in all the game. No, fuck you. You're going here, and you're going here the way we tell you you're going here. And it's right in the middle. And it's like, you know what? There were ways you could have still got me to go into this base. We could have still gotten me back to here with maybe 1, maybe 2 steps. We could have still done this. And you obviously put the effort in everywhere else. It's just really unsatisfying to have that happen there.
Yeah.
That's not my peak, though. My peak was in Hong Kong. You go there to deal with some of the organized crime who are sort of have the highest scientists in there. because they compete to forge a master sword. And right now the master sword is using nanotechnology. So it's not a lightsaber trademark. But it's a lightsaber trademark. Because it's this glowy nanotech sword that cuts through just about anything, has the sharpest edge of anything, blah, blah, blah. Neither triad seems to have it. And you got to kind of track this down to make peace between them, because otherwise there's going to be huge war, and the people we're trying to fight are going to move in and take over Hong Kong. And you go to talk to this one lady, and if you've been following the clues, she's not on the up and up. And so you kind of sit there and go, she wants me to go get some stuff out of the police department to help her. And everybody I've met and my brother has told me to talk to have told me not to trust her. I'm going to take the long way out of her apartment. I'm going to just walk around. And I walk around and I find a secret door and I open it and I walk in and there's the fucking sword everybody's looking for.
Awesome.
And I just pick it up and I walk out. It skips the police department level, which I remember having to do 20 years ago, and a bunch of other stuff that you had to do after that, and you just get to go right to the triads, hand over the sword, and like, done. And it didn't feel unnatural. It didn't feel like I cheated the game. There were enough clues, there was enough stuff that I'm like, wait a minute, you're full of shit. And the game rewarded me for that. Mm-hmm. The game rewarded me when I killed Navarro. Game rewards me in several places when I do these sort of out-of-the-box thinking things. This is just one moment that they just really dropped the ball. And
yeah, it's what makes this game really great is that it doesn't feel like you're on rails. Even though these missions are very much boxed in, like this, you can't wander around the city. It's not an open world, but it feels like you can do anything that you want. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, you can, and for the most part, the game's thought of it.
Yeah.
And so when they make that getting caught inevitable and give you the option to work so hard to not get caught, it feels like a slap in the face with a piss-soaked sock. It's like not good.
A cutscene would have been better. You go to your brother's apartment, everybody storms in, and you just see like 12 UNATCO guys coming through the windows and through the front door, and you see the Men in Black for the first time, and you're like, okay, I'm over my head. And it's part of a cutscene that takes you away. You would still be like, I hate getting forced into that, but also, if that's what happened, I wasn't shooting my way out of that. To find out you can?
Right. Right. In a great, like, it feels so great when you, like, do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you feel like a badass. Like, they could have just put Herman the German in the apartment.
Yeah.
And that would have been better.
Yes.
Yeah, that made me really upset.
I get it.
But I think I was more upset at the amount of time I wasted trying to do it, because I could have gotten farther in the game had I not done that. But it's definitely a game I would like to continue playing and get further in.
Yeah. I think you should. I think this is, to me, this is the pinnacle of good sci-fi.
Definitely.
This is,
the hacking is great. Like I like finding people's email passwords and bank account stuff, and then you have to like type it in.
It does all that stuff from Neuromancer we talked about, where you've got to find these things, but you can still sort of brute force it another way with just raw hacking skill. But it creates a penalty for that. You're on this timer it's showing here. Like, I've got moments, click, click, go, 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 until I get my skill up high enough to try and figure out everything I got to do and get through this. And, like, you'll notice in that one, I had forgotten how to, like, click to different cameras to turn them off, so I only shut off one camera. There were still two more cameras down there ready to shut off. But that that clock of just going. Like, okay, I just got to get in and get out. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah, I really liked that aspect of it. I wish there was a copy paste though, because like I don't know how to spell chameleon, and that's one of the passwords, and I just like kept failing to spell it correctly, and I felt really stupid for like a minute.
No, there are many times I had to be like, okay, go back in. What did it say it was? C-H-A-M. Okay, out. C-H-A-M-E. Oh, shit. C-H-A-M-E.
Yeah. This game will teach you how to spell some difficult words.
Yeah. And it doesn't always tell you where they go. It'll say use them in a security system, but not necessarily the closest one. And while I'm talking about that, you'll notice I've never done something while I'm running around these levels that I do in almost every other game, like all the time. I'm just tabbing and looking at the map.
Right.
There's no map.
There's no map.
There's
at best you get an image that's not very helpful of like an area or what a building looks like.
Yeah, you can get blueprints later on, but they are blueprints, and you still got to try and figure out which way is north on this piece of paper, because it's not necessarily the way it's laid out. And yeah, you just got to learn your way around, and it's just that. And when you're crawling through vents,
right, that's hard. And there are these moments too where there's multiple ways into most of the buildings, and you can go accidentally from the way you intended to take into the other way, and it gets really confusing when that happens, because you're like, wait, I've been like where this is going to lead. Like, I know this. Why am I dealing with all these laser wires and shit? Like, I'm just going to go back. I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where it's like, here's the laser way, here's the lockpick way, here's the gunfight way, and you pick which one, and then you go through to the other side and you start coming back because you're trying to completionist everything, and you're like, well, wait, it was just a pick of how to get to this room. I don't need to clean out.
Right.
But if you don't, you're gonna miss augments and shit.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there were definitely times, like there's a part where you're in like a hangar, and there's a fenced-off area, and there's like electricity shooting out, and like I can get in there somehow. There's a way to do this, but you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You absolutely don't have to, and I didn't because I was in a hurry.
Yep. I liked that it gave you lots of opportunities for the airplane hangar. There were lots of robots running around the airplane hangar, and you had to take them out. How did you take them out?
Those I snuck around. I know my experience was that if you EMP them, it doesn't really shut them down. They just get slower.
Depends on how close and depends on what your EMP skill is.
Oh.
Do you know what I did? There's explosive barrels hidden around the level. If you put them in their path and shoot it with a pistol, it takes them both out.
Oh, wonderful.
And that's what I mean. Like, you and I had very different experiences on that level. Both are good. Both probably led to a satisfying, fun time.
Yep.
And, yeah. I think the only stealth thing I didn't like, and once I discovered it, it bummed me out, they don't freak out if they see a body.
Oh, is that true?
Sometimes they'll say there's a body over here, but I've watched them walk right past a body I took out and not blink. And I'm like, why am I hiding bodies?
Right.
Like, why am I throwing cans and luring them around the corner? Because in Thief, you had to. If they see a body, they go get the alarm and they start spinning shit up to make it hard on you.
Right.
In this, you're fine.
Yeah, the robots definitely don't give a shit. Like, they'll roll right over a dead body. They don't care. But yeah, I thought the troopers might, because of the music, I would hear the music change, but, you know, it could just be that they saw him get killed, which I think is different. That's interesting.
Music, good, bad. Sound effects, sound in general.
Good. Like, I had the music in my head a lot. I liked it. The sound cues are good. Like I said, when you engage in combat, when you're kind of spotted, the music changes. It did a good job of of doing that. There's some really good like droning mechanical sounds all the time when you're walking around, like in some of the levels. I thought it was really good.
You asked here, how would you fix this game? And you asked early enough that I'm like, me? I wouldn't. How would you fix this game?
I would fix the AI.
Yeah.
I would cut down on the number of rats. There's fucking rats in every box. Like someone made that rat model and showed it to someone high up in this company, and they were like, put it everywhere. Like, I love the rats. Put it in the trash cans. Put it in the ashtrays. Put it in the boxes. Rats everywhere. So I'd cut down on the number of rats. I'd make it a little brighter.
A little, yeah.
And I would give the player more feedback about when they're hitting and when they're getting hit. But otherwise, I don't think I would change much, and I would change the Herman the German thing.
Yeah. The way you talked about the rats reminded me of a Simpsons episode where they were talking about Itchy and Scratchy, and Itchy's haha. Like, well, at least you get paid for haha. It's like, no, I only get paid for ha. They just use it twice. And I feel like that's kind of like with the rats. I'm like, do you think they get paid per rat? I'm like, no, they just took one model, and we're like, good enough. That's our ambience. Same with the birds. We're going to do a bird and a rat. Done.
Done is done. Yeah. Let's see. I think that is about all I would fix. The combat.
Here's one of these idiots.
Yeah. I know. Look at him go. He doesn't know what to do. Sometimes
he's dead.
Run away and they still have ammo and stuff. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Just shoot me. I'm almost dead.
Right? A little situational awareness. He's bleeding from the head and his legs don't work. I should run.
Yeah, but randomly, not in a direction. They will run toward the alarms sometimes.
Sometimes.
If you catch them up, they're just totally useless. Oh, another thing I would fix: ladders. I got stuck on so many ladders. There was one I think it was one of the ladders you were just on. I was trying to get out, and he just bounces on the top of the ladder, and the only way I could do it was to close the grate, and then I would pop up on it, and I'd be crouched for some reason. The ladders are terrible, and climbing down them, I would fall all the time and break both my legs, and that's a reload.
Ladders were unreasonably tricky. Yeah. I mean, I would fix the AI with the bodies thing I was talking about. They should go on high alert. I'd fix the AI just in general. The AI needs a complete overhaul. The graphics, I'd clean up.
Oh, God, those faces.
The faces are so doughboy. It was 2000. This was pretty good for the time. I can't give it too much shit. Could have been a little better, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, good level design.
Really good.
Masterclass in level design. If you want to make 3D levels for adventure games or action games, Deus Ex is your study. Deus Ex and Duke Nukem 3D, the first episodes, I would say look those over, figure out how they put them together, because those are fantastic level designs.
Very good.
They do a great way of multiple ways through things to get to the same point. Not like how Skyrim does it, where it's just a donut.
Right. Yeah. Here's a question. Would you let people somehow augment their inventory so they can carry more shit? Because I noticed this whole playthrough, you've been lugging around that fucking huge flamethrower. And I didn't find enough flamethrower ammo to justify carrying that thing around when your inventory space is so precious.
I found the inventory stuff at the end. I started finding flamethrower stuff at the end, and I still never wanted to use it. It just didn't do enough damage. Does it to you? Granted, you go up like that. Apparently your jacket is made of kerosene, but everyone else's it didn't work so well for me.
That was my experience with the trank darts too. When you trank me, I've got 5 seconds of wavy vision, and then I'm done. I'm dead.
You get a little better over time, but yeah, no, it's rough.
A lot of the weapons felt like
Oh, inventory. That's what you're asking me.
kind of missed opportunities to me.
Yeah, I might. Like, I would have done it more. I would have liked if between missions you had a safe box.
Yeah, right. And you can load out for the mission.
Like, we're going here, I'm going to pull it out here. Maybe it's in the chopper. You go back to the chopper, you click it, like, okay, this is going to be my pistol. I'm going to take the, crossbow for this pistol and the sniper rifle, and those are going to be my two mains with, I can carry a third if I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I find a third one on the mission, I can take it with. But otherwise, it's this and this. I just... It's like I carry it all around because I don't want to get to like where you got to with that fight and be like, I'm out of stuff.
Right.
But you only have so much space, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. It's inventory Tetris, which I can get behind, but a law rocket or 3 grenades, one's taking way more space than the other. But here's the funny thing: you can stack grenades. So, like, I can have a stack of 10 lambs, and it's still only taking up a third of that one rocket. But I can't pick up 2 rockets and stack them. That doesn't count. And they're single-shot things. So the inventory logic, it doesn't balance. Like, if you were doing it for balance, you failed. If you're doing it for realism, you failed. It doesn't... Like, here, I'm finally like, I guess I'm going to try this.
Yeah. And you definitely get killed here. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, this level, this rescue the hostages level, took me forever. Just because I was trying not to kill the hostage takers. And really, like in my mind when I said that, nah, should have just killed the hostage takers. You took hostages. You took civilian hostages. I'm done with you.
Yep. And also sneaking around is annoying sometimes.
Yeah. But there's so many in this room, and if you don't approach it right, they'll kill the hostages. So you got to figure this out.
Right. That's one of the journeys of this game, I think, is starting with these really good intentions, and by the end you're like, I'm going to throw this box of TNT down 3 floors onto these poisonous gas canisters, and whoever's down there is just going to be dead, and it's going to be awesome.
Right.
They won't hit alarms. They won't like come around a corner and see me crouch somewhere.
Well, and we haven't talked a lot about politics or, anything in that so far, but I do think it's worth saying this game will test your politics. It'll make you think about, like, which side do I want to take, and do I really think this? And that's the sign of good art. When people say video games aren't art, this should be the first thing offered up.
Yeah, totally.
Because this is as good as any sci-fi story I've read or watched or anything else. And it's had me interact with it in a way that lets me explore the decisions of those and not just passively take them in from someone else laying them on me.
Right. Like, there's people that are hanging with UNATCO till the very last. Like, Law and Order. Like,
yeah.
No, like, not UNATCO. I love UNATCO. Hoarding of the, virus medicine.
Yeah, right. No, so, sort of pro-military, military is going to be my first choice no matter what. And there's some people who are going to be like, I don't even want to play a game where I'm part of a military organization.
Yeah.
But like you said, too, like, this is a cyberpunk game from the 2000s, late 90s. The government's the bad guys. Like,
it's gonna be dystopian. There's gonna be AIs. There's it's got all that stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. And the AIs, how they handle them, I think, are really well done. They're not overdone. I don't know. I was happy with all that all the way through.
Yeah, plot-wise, it's wonderful. Like, it's really great. It's got depth. It's got a lot of different elements. It's paced really well. Everything about it from a storytelling perspective is great.
Yes. except that one subway scene.
Except that one subway scene.
Yeah.
Really mad about that, but that's okay. Whatever.
There are some. One more thing I'll say before we go. There's some interesting architecture that is definitely due to it being a 90s game. And that is like when you go into a building, you'll like go and there'll be this long hall that turns and then turns and then turns and comes back in. And it's a trick of making sure your point of view never goes past the field of view. Mm-hmm. So they're rigging weird halls that no building would ever have.
Right.
So that it makes physical sense when you're bopping between levels, because it doesn't do it seamlessly. Like when you go into a building in Hell's Kitchen, you'll go in and then it'll load the building and then you'll come out the other side. And it's sort of TARDIS-y. It's not always the same size as the building you're in.
Yeah, definitely.
But it also means when you're looking in a door, you can't technically look into the building. You've got to do this jog to get it.
Yeah. They did a pretty good job setting you up and making it feel like there's continuity between the inside and the outside. But yeah, like you definitely know, like you're seeing that sausage get made every time. But but they did a good job with it.
Right.
Like you can't really fault them.
Not for 2000. You know? For today, I would fault them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you would fault them today. Yeah.
But all right. Anything else we want to say or comment or do or?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Then we'll transition to our short game, which is Terminal Velocity.
Love it.
Love it. Haven't started it yet, but again, short game. So
me neither. When I say I love it, I remember loving it.
We'll find out.
I don't know. I hope I still love it.
Right. And then our long game is sort of an interesting one. Ascendancy. It's a strategy game, and neither of us have played it or know much about it.
Yep, but we're going to love it according to the box.
According to the box, we're going to love it. So
they wouldn't lie.
Right? I can't wait to try this because it's been a while since we've done something just reach in a hat, pull out something weird, and see where it goes. And from the couple screenshots I've seen, looks weird. Can't wait to give this a shot.
Yeah, should be good.
And of course, next Thursday, can't forget Deathlord. We're still on Deathlord. We're on episode 21, 22, 21?
21. I can't remember, 21 or 22. I think 21.
I think 21.
That's a lot of Deathlord. But we're getting down to it.
Coming in on the end here. We're going to do like maybe one more level grindy one this week. See where we can get not Tim. And then make some hard decisions about getting the last word and then going to hell.
Yeah. Join us on Thursday at 9 Central. Talk to us, interact with us, etc. Whatever.
Chris and Matt too. Chris and Matt go to hell. And I think that was supposed to be the original Bill and Ted 2.
Oh, really?
It was Bill and Ted Go to Hell.
That's fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah.
There's Bill and Ted that's coming out, right?
It's coming out. Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
It's about well, sort of begrudgingly, but it's about two 40-something friends who are supposed to save the world and haven't and are starting to feel like failures with their kids and their jobs and everything else. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, that tracks.
Right.
Yeah.
God damn it. I'm in this picture and I want to be removed.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before I stop recording here and we come back in a week to play some Deathlord?
I think we're all set.
I think we're all set too. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.